Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mystery Truck, and welcome to Biology. Yet another day. Coming quickly because I want to keep all the cool air outside and all the warm, toasty air in here. Okay, good. All right. You know, how structured I am about things, telling you what we're going to do in order, organizing everything, but I will tell you, corresponding to this weather outside, it looks like winter, it feels like winter, yet it's not, because it's like fall. But I think that this setting and this time of year and just the scenery is the perfect time to talk about water and ice winter safety. So that is what we're going to do at the end of the day if we have time. I definitely want to focus in on all regular content with biology, biosphere, ecology terms, and all the activities that we have going for us today. So, today, we're going to begin with reviewing what some of these basic vocabulary terms are, such as ecology, which we should already know, but throughout this unit, I will continuously review with you because science. I mean, this unit is an easier unit because there's not, much chemistry involved and it can stick to webs a little bit more. But regardless, it's really important that we have these things fresh in our mind when we come into class. And so it will make us more knowledgeable, better for a test or a quiz, and it's just always nice to review. So we're going to review ecology in those basic terms. Then we're going to also review and rather go through all of the stages, I will say, all of the levels of ecological organisms. This is the official. Now, your textbook, I really like how it lays out and organizes those vocabulary words, but I definitely do like better how the interactivity does it, because I think that you can learn more through the interactivity, because it breaks down all of those levels, on that first part of the interactivity on global systems that we did yesterday. And so we're going to look at the full scale from the most broad to the very smallest thing, or vice versa. Okay, so it's going to expand upon. This is the whole thing. Then after that, we're going to go over and go through the four spheres, or the four global systems: atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, and geosphere. Switch the order on those, and how they interact with one another. Okay. Then I'm going to give you some time to work on your 3.1 on the Introduction to Global Systems study guide, because tomorrow, tomorrow, you do have a quiz over that first section, because this is a very, very small and brief section. It is the big introduction section. Now the next section is really going to get into ecology more in the biosphere, and it's going to have a lot more content, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult, because it talks about winds and ocean currents, and gets into chemistry like gases with the greenhouse effect, water and climate, global climate change, things of that manner. So section 2 will really be the big section, second in place to section 3 in this chapter. They want to go on and talk about ecosystem and primary producers and consumers, those kinds of things like that, decomposers. So, then, after you get done with the study guide, and I will show you what that looks like when we get to it. Now, it's really, really cold out there. It looks like winter. It feels like winter, and I know I've already said this before. If we have time, I will, actually, I have put a little side page on Power School on that same block. Actually, if you go down, there is a video on water, ice, winter safety, and you might have seen it in your middle school PE classes when they talk about water safety, and you put your hand in the bucket of ice and things like that. So that's what you're going to do if we have time. It'll be the very last thing of the day. It won't be a huge deal. Um, it's actually an Ed puzzle. I made an Ed puzzle. So, I know that we have done one Ed puzzle before with the gecko on the wall for Van der Waals forces and weak interactions. This time we're going to do it on water and ice safety. So again, with the video, you watch it, and then as you're watching, it stops and pauses it. Then over here, it asks you questions, and then you answer those questions in order for the video to continue. So, I have right here a biology textbook that that I really forgotten that I had buried in my stuff in the garage last night. I was searching around because I was looking for something. And so I came across this biology textbook, and it brought back the memory of me faintly remembering that I got it at a college. So this is college level. It is really in depth. It goes into a lot more detail, and it's a lot more complex and difficult to understand. But I'm going to just open it and read from it. It's probably going to be the things that we're talking about in the regular textbook, and just how this textbook defines, these things. So we're on ecology. This is the very last part of the textbook, very last unit. So, yes, a lot of stuff before it. So, this is the study guide that I'm going to assign you later, by the way. I'll just fit it in right here. So that will be what we'll use for later. So, ecosystems, let's see if I can find what I'm looking for here. Animal development. Animal behavior, yeah, they're really... ecology, okay. So, ecology, so derived from the Greek word okias. Now, I do want to talk more about this definition, because I really didn't, go into too much detail about it. So ecology, as the house of organisms and their interactions and type things. And you also know it as, different levels of organization in the interactions between each other and the environment. Same goes with here and in your textbook. It defines it. The word ecology comes from the Greek word orchies, which means a place to live. So it talks about all the living in communities and those things that you should know. Ecology refers to the study of interrelationships among living things and their non-living environment, abiotic and biotic factors. The environment consists of the abiotic and biotic factors. Talks about ecosystem in this one. It structures it differently because it's a different book. Now, we're going to get into the definition of ecosystem when we get to chapter 4. We'll talk all about that, because that is part of biosphere, major part of ecology and biology. But I will define it. So, refers to the non-living environment and to all the organisms within a defined area, such as our eastern forest. So, non-living, so ecosystem is the environment of all the living and all of the non-living things. That's one of your basic chapter unit vocab terms. Okay. So now what I want to do is, now that we've defined that, I'm going to draw your attention to the board. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to define these a little bit better than I have been for you, which I think I've, gone through them pretty well. But this is the official. This is really the official. So that Google document that you made last time, remember yesterday, I told you to open up that document and make that list of all the levels of eco-organization. Now that I'm asking you to pull that out now, but I just want to make sure that you did it, because all of those things we're going to talk about right here, and it will give you the list. And preferably, I would want you to define all the things which will be on your study guide here, at least on the first page, and what these, and the breakdown of these levels. Just a basic little definition would be fine on that. I won't assign it as an assignment in PowerSchool, but I do want you to do that for your benefit. So, let's begin with smallest to the broadest, okay? We've done this 3 times. 3 times is the big charm. So, organism. We should know what that is. So, we're going to begin at the very beginning. We're going to start off very small with a single thing. It's like, individual child, and only child, siblings, twins, triplets, quadruplets, things like that. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like a number where it just builds on itself. It's also like making a snowball, where you put more parts of snowball and it becomes this big thing, and that's the biome. But biomes consist of organism, which is the individual species, the individual, the individual living thing, part of that species. And the species, however you want to pronounce it, is a group of many organisms in an environment. So a species is a group of those organisms. Like, for example, a species of caribou in the tundra. Okay. So then, community is all of the species, one or two more, many species together in an environment. So if you take the species as many organisms, community is many species. What do you think population is? Population is 2 or more communities together interacting. And then if you put them together, then that makes a population. Good visual image is on the interactivity when you were clicking on the pictures, and it just gave an in zoom of those things from biome to organism. We're going to take it from organism to biome. We're going to start out really zoomed in, and we're going to just get more expansive as we go, the kind of thing that they did. So it builds. So just picture that. So then ecosystem, which we just defined over there, which is all the living and non-living, There's a non-living ecosystem as well. Living organisms, all the non-living and living populations. An environment, or population, community, species, and organisms, and environment. Biome put all these things together, which is, consists of, all the, all of these things. So if you think about it this way, species is all organism, species, organism, community, species, an organism, population, community, species, an organism, ecosystem, population, community, species, organism, biome, ecosystem, population, community, species, organism. It's like the add-on. In choir, I think that your choir teaches, so you do the do, re, mi, re, do. The kind of thing. Well, it adds on. So this is kind of one way to look at it. So now that we have those, over here I've written some extra stuff for this chapter in the unit. So I've written some examples of basic biomes, desert, forest, tundra, Arctic, and things like that. We're going to get into that when I'm going to have you as a class, when you do the just regular reading on section 3. As a class, we are going to open up the e-text and we're going to look at each individual biome, as well as making a poster and or a Google drawing of that biome. I'm assigning you just a mini project on that. So the biomes are over here. I'm going to lay this up for the whole chapter. The biomes right here, and some of the stuff that we're going to get into in section 2 are right here as well. So then section 3, biomes and also aquatic ecosystems. Now I'm going to turn the board over because we're going to break down these 4 global systems that we looked at yesterday. This is kind of new information here, but not. Because you should maybe have some prior knowledge to these, ahead of time before you maybe came into this class. So we're going to look at, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what these things consist of. We're going to, as a class, discuss how these things interact. And on your study guide, it shows this as well. What ways, how can you remember these terms and what they consist of by the, by the prefixes and everything? I'm going to show you as we go through. So let's begin with the atmosphere. Okay, my way of remembering the atmosphere for you is, I'm going to tell you, take this with a grain of salt, because this is my way of remembering, in which I'm going to share with you, but I want you to come up with your own way. It can be based off of the things I say, but it has to be your own way of remembering these things on the first page of your study guide. So atmosphere. So let's break down A. So A. Also for abiotic factors, abiotic, anything with A in front of it is without. A without. I might have said that, but not used that exact word. So, atmosphere. So, what is something in the atmosphere that could be an example of a gas that we breathe, that we take out, exhale, and inhale? What is just a basic thing from the atmosphere, what it consists of, that we breathe? Should be very simple. And it was my second hit, and I hope I'm not giving things away for you. So, what is the first syllable of a vehicle that transports you from around the country, around the world? So what is that prefix? And what consists in atmosphere? Air. Beautiful. Air. So atmosphere, one way that you can remember it is the air I breathe. The air we breathe. So the atmosphere consists of all of the gases, and all of the clouds and winds in the on Earth. These levels. So these global systems, these levels of global systems like that, are found in various parts of Earth. Up and down the model of Earth. So atmosphere is at the top of the Earth, at the top of the earth. It's all the gases and all of the, vapor and all that stuff. Biosphere. Biosphere now, we have the atmosphere up above. And let's go down to the surface of Earth, because that's what the biosphere is. The biosphere, we should know, because it's the chapter title, is all of the living things. All living things. Every living thing on Earth is in the biosphere. Plants, trees, biotic factors, animals, insects, mammals, humans, which we are mammals, by the way. So, biosphere, that's what the biosphere. So we have the air on the sky, we have the surface and the life. Now we have what makes up more than, I think, 60% of, maybe more than 90%. We'd get into hydrosphere, ocean currents next section. But, so then that is the ocean. So it makes up more than 60% of the Earth is the ocean. And what is section 2.1, 2.2 actually, on what is the most valuable resource of survival that we can, eat or drink? Yes, agua, water. So that's one way of remembering it. But another way is this prefix, hydro. So, actually, biosphere, bio-life, right here, I forgot to, talk about that. But there you go. So then, hydrosphere. Hydrosphere, what does the prefix water mean? Hydro mean, well, I gave it away. Water. So hydro, water. So hydrosphere is the ocean, all of the water. And by the way, 3 out of the 4 of these are astrological elements. Air, water, and earth. We're missing the fire, but I guess the geosphere can be the fire. So hydrogen. One thing to remember about hydrogen: it isn't just the ocean water. It's all of the water. Every bit of water on the planet. Just every type of water in anywhere on the planet. Just all of the water. All of the water on the planet is considered hydro in the hydrosphere. This can be oceans. It can be the freshwater ecosystem estuaries, and things we're going to get to in the next 2 sections from now. It can be the ocean. It can also be underground. Water can be, lakes, rivers, streams. So that. So then geosphere. Geosphere. Now, prefix geo. What does geo mean? And what does that word mean? Yes, like geology. Study of rocks, continents, anything, earthy, grounded. Like now we're getting into, we're staying on the surface of the earth, but now we're gonna get into the ground. Anything ground and hard and solid, like the rocks, is, geo. Rocks, the geosphere is all of the, rocks and things. So, now we're going to talk about how each 4 of these interact and correspond to each other. Okay? Let's begin up here with the atmosphere, top to bottom. Now, so atmosphere top, biosphere is below, with the hydrosphere. Bottom is the geosphere. So we're going to number it 3 to 1. So 3 being the top, 1 being the bottom. So 3, 2, 2, 1. 3, 2, 2, 1. Makes sense. Okay, so atmosphere. So what, like how, what other global system does the atmosphere affect? Really, and what I want you to do is use deductive reasoning, and I want you to just shout out for me. I want to hear that deductive and critical creative thinking. Yes, okay, great. The hydrosphere. Atmosphere is the air, hydrosphere is the water, all the water. And so how would the air affect the water? How would the atmosphere affect the hydrosphere? Yes, so yeah. The winds and the air and moisture in the atmosphere would affect the ocean, like the ocean currents. And it can also um for that matter. And the ocean, the moisture from the ocean, like the cool, warm, like especially in the tropics ocean, with the biomes, this all corresponds to each other. So ocean, water, and moisture combined with the air, well, that creates Earth's monster, which is storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, those kinds of things. Thunderstorms, for that matter. So we have that. So let's talk about how the hydrosphere can correspond and interact to the biosphere. So, anyone have any ideas? Okay, I'll give you this one. So the biosphere, light. So the biosphere, bio is life, hydrosphere is the water, right? Um, so from our prior knowledge for the necessities of life, let's talk about the resources of water. So water contains food, transportation, drink, of which these biotic, the living things in the biosphere need, right? They need fresh water to drink and survive. They need food. And so that's, basically, if we have no water, then you can't survive. So you need the water for the biosphere to help the plants, to help the animals, to make them grow, to give them energy and all that stuff. And with chemical reactions to, carry out those chemical reactions. Vice versa. And so, how much water in the biosphere really affects living things. Without water, there is no life, right? Good. So then, geosphere and hydrosphere. How would the geosphere affect the hydrosphere and vice versa? Anyone? I want to hear somebody. Okay, yes, Earth science. So, last year at the, last year when we were talking about Earth science and tectonic plates and those kinds of things like that, those tectonic plates, well, they move. They're the continents basically, that move based on the ocean. So the reason why these continents move is because of the ocean. The ocean carries them. And also, the ocean produces living things, all that kind of thing. With the hydrosphere, biosphere, there's also living things in the water, right? As well. So that could be aquatic biosphere. So then geosphere, hydrosphere. So I think I've given you what I can come up with. So that's how, and it affects rocks and all those kind of things. Those rocks in the ocean, those on the mountains. And actually, we're going to get into this next section. Is that mountains and rifts can form from that ocean. So hydrosphere, biosphere, all of those things. I think that we've talked about everything. So the geosphere and the atmosphere, can't really think Well, I know that, like, when it rains from the sky, it does something to rocks and soil. But I think that you get it. I think that you get how these four global systems affect and correspond to one another. They go off one another, and they just kind of just go with one another together in the earth. And you need all four of these. All four of these are gold and valuable for living and everything on earth. All four of these is what earth is made of. You know, how great that art, well, what God made. All these things, this earth is made of gases such as carbon dioxide, nitrogen, oxygen, air, vapor. Water vapor is also considered hydrogen, hydrosphere. Um, and so then the biosphere is all of the life on Earth. Hydrosphere is all of the water, which is most precious gold, valuable resource. Geosphere is all the solid rock and these kinds of things. So they all go and flow and intertwine with one another. Okay. I don't know how much time that we have. I don't know how much memory I have on that. Hopefully enough to briefly, because I know that I took some time on that, I'm going to show you very briefly what your study guide is going to look like. So, you don't need to use the Pearson imprinted or online textbook, because it gives you the text right here. Okay, so, you have the study guide at your on your desk. As you can see, I want you to pull that out because, and these pages are kind of out of order, and I couldn't staple these. Printer, just the printer, I don't know why that printer can't work. It's acting all funky. So, first page is all of the levels of all of the basic vocabulary terms from this section and levels of ecological organization, biotic and abiotic factors. All of that is on this page, of which we just talked about. So it gives the term, it gives the definition, what these things consist of, and over here to the on the rightmost column, you're writing. And I did one for you. How do I remember these things? Now, I know I gave a whole spiel about how I remember and how I would like you preferably to remember. Going off my ideas, you can come up with your own, you can go off mine. They can't be exactly mine, though. So you have to be creative. And if they are, then that's fine. So, next page. So it gives questions along the side along with the vocabulary words as you're going through the reading. You can also, because I know that you did the reading for this, you do not need to read along with this. Basically, read the question and find the answer. I see no, but I really don't see why you need to do that because you all know this information by now, like the back of your hand, and you should all know it. You should all know it pretty well. You should ace it on the quiz or test um, on information. So you should be whizzes and geniuses at this now. So, write the questions over there. So, it talks about, one of them talks about the prefixes of all of these words right here, how you can remember them. Biotic and abiotic factors. What factors can be both biotic and abiotic at the same time. On that interactivity as well. Then fields of scientific studies. So, what is the word for rocks and solid materials and that? Then you need to, at the end, label the four global systems on the model. And there's two questions below. So how do global systems interact and affect ecosystems? So the four global systems, I really didn't talk about this much at all. So how the four global systems, atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, geosphere, how do they affect the ecosystem? The ecosystem. So then, what features of the geosphere could affect ecosystems. Hint, once the views feel consistent, but also connecting it back to the ecosystem and biosphere. So, living organisms, it's a biosphere. Okay, so I'm going to give you the rest of the class to work. Well, actually, I'm going to see how far we come. You don't need to get this whole thing. I'm going to give you 15 minutes or so, because you should buzz right through this. And then what I want you doing. So, actually, the rest of the class is your time to work. I'm done talking. I'm done going over things. What I want you working on is the study guide here. And then once you're done, go to Power School on my class page, Unit 3, Ecology. And open up that Edpuzzle. It shows you right there, and it gives you the link. You can do one or the other. On that video on water, ice, and winter safety. Watch it. It's short but long at the same time. It's not too heavy on you. And as you're going through, answer the questions. And then make sure that it is turned in by tomorrow. Okay. So that is what you need to do. So 2 things for tonight: study for your quiz tomorrow, and then also get that Edpuzzle done. Okay, good. So use your time wisely, because the rest of it is yours. Go.